You know what's scarier than being alone in a dark field? Not being alone in a dark field. Arriving at Retrospect Station. Doors will open on the left. Welcome back, passengers, to Retrospect Station, the show where I show you just how colorful life can be. I'm your host, Elizabeth Dean, and last week we talked about how poorly I did Ramadan. I had one good year, and then it all just fell apart for all the others. And we learned two things. We learned that I don't really have much of an immune system. Please send antibodies. But also we learned that sometimes you can plan for something all you want, put yourself up to it, and really just go, I got this, I can do this, and life might actually still find a way to throw a brick right at your face. So I was thinking about what to do for the second episode, and I figured I kind of wanted to loop a theme from the last one into this one, and then maybe from this one into I don't know how I'm going to do that. But I wanted to revisit that kind of you can plan for something and life doesn't really give a damn kind of theme. Because I do have a story from it. And this is a story I have been dying to tell for years now. 8 years I have wanted to tell this story. It is the scariest thing I have ever done. It is the most dangerous thing I think I've ever done. And it is the worst thing I've ever had to do, being forced to do. This story is part of something much bigger, which is my time in Ottawa. And rather than kind of tell the story of that, I just want to get right into what this episode is, what the core of this episode truly is. I want to revisit that lesson where you can plan for something and you will still always find yourself in situations where there is a curveball thrown at you. And you kind of just got to take the punches as they come. So, there's some lore you guys need. The first thing is I studied at the University of Ottawa when I was a wee one. I am no longer wee. I just recently passed my birthday and I am the ripe old age of 27. This is back when I was 18, I think. I was in second year university. It was just before August 2017 had started. And that was the year where I took a bunch of electives all throughout the school year. And 2 of them are of note. And I'm looking at myself in the for people who are watching this on video, I'm looking at myself in the camera and realizing that the microphone is blocking a bunch of stuff that I'm gesticulating. But no, I took 2 courses specifically that really brought about the crux of this episode. And it's, okay, I took 2 courses that were Irish language and culture 1 and 2. I'm not Irish. I am far too dark and spicy for that. I have no Irish blood. But I was really, really interested in learning the language and kind of just figuring, because I'm that person who doesn't like hearing it's just the way it is for an answer. So when I write, I'm a writer. When I write, I put on lots of different types of music. And at that point in my life, I was really playing a lot of Celtic music, mainly Irish, some Scottish, some Welsh, some Brittonic, some Manx, some other stuff, but mostly Irish. And I had no idea what anyone was saying. These were actually songs in Irish Gaelic, the language, the Celtic language that is not related to English in that way. And in 2017, there were not that many resources. Google Translate could not translate Irish Gaelic. It was utterly atrocious. And more than 70% of the languages listed right now on Google Translate were not there on Google Translate. So and there weren't good dictionaries, and the translation resources for Irish Gaelic were horrible on the internet at the time. I couldn't access anything. For example, Irish Gaelic is on Duolingo now for you to learn. It wasn't there. Like, it was just about to be added when I was taking this course, or these 2 courses. So I took these 2 courses. I learned a reasonable amount of Irish. And then part of the courses, we also had to participate in culture activities. And in Ottawa, I think the organization is still there, but it's called Comhaltas Kiltóirí Éireann, Ottawa. And that is a division of the Irish, like Ireland Irish Association called Comhaltas Kiltóirí Éireann, which is approximately translating into Irish Arts Association. And so this is the Ottawa Irish Arts Association. And they hosted, I think they still do, but they hosted a lot of different events, dancing lessons, language lessons, ceilidhs, which are like large gatherings of people to kind of, it's a social event. It's literally just a social event of dancing, food, music, stories, whatever. And part of the culture portion of these classes was we were introduced into these circles as part of our learning. And that's really the pertinent thing, because like the rest of this is all going to be a story or several stories for a different time, but mainly for this story. As part of the Ottawa Irish Arts Association, I met a bunch of different people, and one such person was, I'll call her Sarah. Sarah was also a part-time professor, I think, at U Ottawa. And so in the summer, I had finished taking the courses. I was doing other courses that summer, and I just finished my exams, and August was kind of like a free month where nothing was happening, but I was still living in the city, and I was walking around at the end of July, and everything was kind of good. And I run into Sarah outside of one of the arts buildings. I think she was finished with a class, teaching a class. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you for a while, catching up, whatever." And she says to me, "Oh my goodness. So have you, like, how have you been? What are you up to? Are you going to the Irish Immersion Week in the Gaeltacht?" Just flat says those words to me. And I'm like, I don't understand what these words mean. I understand the meaning, but I don't understand what you mean. So I'll contextualize. She explained to me, and I'll explain to you, that the Ottawa Irish Arts people have this I don't know if they're the ones who do it, but they had this arrangement of having their members be able to sign up for an Irish Immersion Week that is basically 7 days of immersive Irish classes at different levels, beginner, intermediate, advanced, along with music, dancing, more or less kind of the foods, and just like media, movies, whatever. And it's an immersion week because everyone is kind of isolated from the rest of English-speaking society and going to a place officially called, the Permanent North American Irish Gaeltacht. It's the only one in North America. And she's like, that's where it's happening. It's happening in Tamsworth. I'm like, you say these words to me like I should understand. I'm not from here. I grew up in Mississauga, not here. I don't know where these places are. But as an explanation for people listening, Tamsworth is like it's a township that's somewhere outside of the Ottawa Valley, close to a township called Napanee. And so apparently that's where it was. The Gaeltacht is somewhere around there. A Gaeltacht, like the word more or less truthfully means land of Gaels, like, or land of people of people who speak the language of the Gaels. That's kind of what Tacht does when you put Gael and Tacht together. And there are such designated regions called Gaeltachts in Ireland. And they're either solely Irish speaking or predominantly Irish speaking, as in the business, schooling, daily life is conducted in Irish Gaelic. They're not the major city centers, obviously, not like Dublin and stuff, but there are many places in Ireland that are designated as Gaeltachts. And then in North America, there's one single spot designated as the North American Gaeltacht, and it's in Tamsworth. And this sounds special. I'm getting to this. It's not visually special, at least when I was there. I think it could have been improved now. I haven't seen it for many years, but at the time, oy. So she's like, do you want to go? Here's the information, and like, here's how much it costs and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't afford that. And I don't remember the number, but whatever the number was, it was an amount that was too expensive for a second-year student to kind of front that money. And I was like, I can't go. I can't afford that. And she's like, oh, one sec. And she pulls out her phone. She checks something. She goes, do you want to volunteer? And I'm like, will I get to learn Irish if I do? She's like, yeah, you can do all the normal activities. But instead of paying, you can be one of 4 student scholarship type of volunteers. I'm like, yes, please. I'm doing that. I don't care what you ask me to do. I'm doing that. I'm coming. And she had to we had to arrange how to get me there and stuff and whatever. But I got appointed as one of the volunteers, and I was alongside 3 guys. This is also a kind of pertinent key information because it affects why what happened. So the other 3 guys, I didn't know one of them. The other 2, one of them was in my Irish class. I'll call him David. And then the other one was I'll call him Owen. These are fake names. And Owen I knew from Ottawa Irish Arts stuff. He was one of their organizers. One of the people who came with us as well was a teacher that taught for Ottawa Irish Arts, and I had always just met him in all of those occasions. And so all of us pile in, me, David, Owen, and teacher, so let's say that, and Sarah, who's our driver, all pile into this van, and off we go. We're gonna go. I don't remember if we took the other I think we took the other volunteer with us. So I'm going to say that actually it was Sarah, teacher, David, Owen, me, and someone I will call by name, Dermot, or Jeremy in English. And I'm only calling him by name as a quick aside because I met him then, and he was basically around my age, and I was like 18, 19. And he was just getting into reconnecting with his Irish roots, learning the language, really getting fully immersed, attached, and fluent in everything. And I remember thinking back then, like, oh my gosh, he is dedicated. I hope he succeeds in doing this. And recently, when I was drafting this story, I went and looked it up. He runs the Gaeltacht now. He runs the Irish Immersion Week now, years later. So I'm calling him by name because his name's listed on the website. So I'm pretty sure he's okay with being publicly called by name. But yeah, so all of us pile into this van and off we go. Boom, Tamsworth. I passed this on to my friend at the time, asked him like, hey, where is Tamsworth? What should I think about this? And he's like, and I'm going to say to you guys, excuse my language. He said to me, you're going to the middle of butt-fuck nowhere. And I truly do, maintain it was truly butt-fuck nowhere. I've never gone camping. I've never done anything like hyper northern or kind of like I've never gone skiing. I've never gone tobogganing. I have now, but at the time I hadn't. Like properly. I've never really done any of these things. And then off they're going to take me to do camping in a field. The Gaeltacht is a field. Was. I don't know if it is now, but was. It definitely was just a field. So we pile into this van, we drive all the way past Napanee and turn off into some back roads, and off we are in Tamsworth, and the sign is really old, and we just kind of drive alongside a bunch of empty or farmed kind of fields because it's summer, so there's some plants. Some of them are short, some of them are tall. And we just turn onto this road that's not really a road. It's like a road-ish road. Like there was the road-ish piece of road, and then where we were driving was like the roadier road to the roadish road. So we turned off of the roadier road, which in its right was not really much of a road. And then we turned off onto the less roady road, which was skinny and like dirt and gravelly and turn. And then boom, there's a house. And we turned and we're in this property. I will describe what the Girl Talk property looked like at this time. It was basically a strip of land. And apparently it had previously been an apple orchard or something like that. So there's trees, there's stuff going around. We walked around, we toured it. But when we showed up, it was a house and then this mown grass path all the way down to an open field which had been mown. And this is pertinent too because where we were going is Tick County. So there's plenty of ticks in that region, and the ticks in that region have Lyme disease. So they had mown the grass so that there wasn't going to be any ticks in our space, hopefully, and so that reduced the effect. That reduced the risk of anyone contracting Lyme disease, because that was pretty prevalent at the time. It was a danger, and there was a lot of tall grass everywhere else. So we turn in, we drive down, there's the house, and then there's like a 10-minute walking distance, or at best like a 2-minute drive to 1.5-minute driving distance from the house, down field. And the field's kind of occluded by a set of trees with like a little pathway between them. So we drive in and boom, there's this giant empty field and there's people setting up tent canopies and whatever. And it's, I think, a Sunday or a Saturday, whatever. Like we were there the day before the events start and they're like, okay, set up, do things, whatever. And I have a thing written in my notes with no context, so I don't know where this belongs, but literally it just says so many bugs. There were so many bugs in this field, my God. And everyone except me got bit because I was smart and I wore lots of bug spray. And I was very much so, like, what I did was overkill. I wore jeans. I wore jeans in the first week of August in the middle of summer and it was hot. So, but I was saved. I'm just going to straight skip to the key details of what led up into this episode being titled Horse. The way that we were arranged in this field, there's the path up to the house, and then the house is up by the roadish road. Because the other volunteers were guys, when they met me, like when the staff at the Girl Talk met me and the owners, they were like, okay, we're going to separate. So we'll have the 3 guys in the camper van, and then we'll put you like up on the hill just outside the field with Sarah, who was going to camp up there by herself just outside the field on a kind of hillish half hill thing that was there. Like the path went through these 2 hills on either side that just like, they weren't super high, but they were steep. And we're going to put you there. And then we might move you later if you need to. And so they put me up, like the first night they put me up there in the tent in the hill. And then the next day they said, okay, we can move you. Would you like to be in a camper by the house? It's like more space. We can give you a sleeping bag, like everything proper. And I was like, yes. And only because Sarah was significantly older than me. So she got tired at the end of the night, much earlier than when all of the events kind of closed out. And me being 19, I'm like, oh my God, I want to spend my time. I want to do things. So I'm like, no, I'm going to go to the camper so that I can kind of have some freedom of doing stuff. And in that I can, Sarah was kind of like volunteer mom. She was transporting all the volunteers around for all of the events. She was our ride to everything. That included being my ride from wherever I'd be, like the camper or something, or the tent, to the field. So, but if I went to the camper, it was something along the lines of I could go with the teachers who were staying up by the house. I could go with the owners who lived in the house. I could go with other people to the camper as well. I didn't only have to rely on Sarah. So I was like, I elected for the camper. I don't really understand my logic behind that as a 19-year-old, 18-year-old. I was not smart, because had I not done that, had I just stayed in the tent, this would not have happened. Somewhere around the beginning of the week, they told us, so they said to us, everybody, we have an announcement. The property to the side of us, adjacent to this one, is a horse. They have stables. They have horses. A horse has escaped, and they don't know where it is. And then they were telling us, we are confident it's in their field. This horse likes to escape a lot, but he's never left the property. So we're confident that we don't have to worry about a horse. He'll be fine. But like, they've checked. And then I asked, I was like, but do they have an idea? Like, and did they check? And they're like, they've checked the whole property and they can't find the horse. But we're pretty confident the horse isn't on our property. And I'm like, all right, I'm remembering that. I didn't believe anybody. I figured that horse was on the property. A lot of us were suspecting that the horse was on the property. So we started the week out with the prospect of this phantom horse roaming the fields. Okay, yeah. So I've set the stage. I'm in a field. I've never camped. I'm away from everybody and everything up by the house, because I forgot to say, everyone who was attending the immersion week was camping, and they were all camping together in that field. So the volunteer boys were in that field. The attendees were in that field. Sarah was right outside that field. The only people who were up by the house were the owners, the teachers that were staying in the shed apartment right next to the house, and me, alone, in my own camper. All right, well, everything went great. Everything went fine. Midway through the week, I was told, you're getting a camper pal. I'm like, oh my God, yes, I'm getting a camper pal. Because I'm not going to lie, it was a bit spooky being in my own camper by myself, not doing anything else but just sleeping. I had moths to take care of. I had a cockroach at one point. I don't like bugs. I especially didn't like them back then. So it was spooky in there. So they tell me on Tuesday night, hey, you're going to get somebody. Wednesday night, you're going to get a camper pal. I'll call her Mina. You're going to get a camper pal. Her name's Mina. I'm like, okay, cool. Great. So midway through the week, there were some events happening. We'd all gone to class outside. There was a school that was being used. And then we all came back. And there was some trip that I think everyone was going to go on before like dinner time and whatever. So I come back from classes and I come up to the camper van, and lo and behold, the camper van door is wide open and there's some woman in this camper moving shit in and out. And I'm like, you're going to let every bug in this field into that one camper. Hi, my name's Misha Eilish. Is how I was saying it in Irish. And she introduced herself as Mina and so on. Okay. And I got to know her and we exchanged numbers because we're like, hey, we're staying together, contact, all that stuff. Okay. I went away. She didn't come with us. She was like, I'm tired. I'm going to take a nap, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. We went away, like all of us attendees that were going went away to attend this event. And then we came back. And then when we came back, it was a little bit darker. It was dinner time. I helped make dinner. One of the things as a volunteer is we had to help make the meals. So I was up early at the crack of dawn at 6. I was helping make lunch in midday if we happened to be back in the field. And then I was helping make dinner. So I was helping make dinner. We made dinner. We had some food. And then I went up back to the camper van. Because there was a bit of time between the end of dinner and what's called Tinnakanov or campfire, or really it translates as bonfire or bonefire. And so I went up back to the camper, kind of settled in, And then I wanted to go down to the campfire, but Sarah texted me and she's like, you can go. I'm just going to tuck in. I'm really exhausted. So you can go, but I can't drive you back. So you're going to have to figure out who's going to take you back. And I say this to Mina, and Mina's like, I'll take you back. It's okay. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then I texted Sarah. I'm like, it's fine. Mina's got me. I'll be fine. And then if not, I can go with the teachers who were given their like little golf carts to go from the field up to their apartment in the shed by the house. Like there were other vehicles around. I was like, I'll be fine because Mina had a car and everything. So I'm like, okay, I'm covered. I'm fine. Nothing can go wrong. So I went to the Tinnakanov. I went down into the field, had a grand old time. People were drinking, people were laughing, tin whistles. Somebody had a boron drum. Someone had a fiddle. Like people were just having a grand old time. It's very, very Irish. And then people started kind of petering out, going to their tents and whatever. Cool. I stayed behind to continue talking and drinking with the volunteers in their camper van because I knew these people. They were my friends. I mean, two of them were, and then the other one I kind of knew fairly well. And then the last one, Dermot, we got along. All of us got along really, really well, really quickly. So I'm in the camper van, kind of drinking, laughing, playing a bunch of games and whatever. And then 9 o'clock turns to 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock turns to 11 o'clock, 11 o'clock turns to 12 o'clock. And then we're getting really close to the midnight hour, like right before midnight. And I'm thinking like, okay, I have to go back up. So I call Mina and I'm just trying to check. I'm like, hey, you will pick me up, right? She's like, yeah, got you. And I hang up. Cool, I've checked. And then closer to midnight, I'm like, oh my goodness, having a grand time. The teacher who was with us, the one who came with us, was like, hey, how are you getting back up? Sarah's asleep. And I'm like, oh, no, it's fine. Mina's going to come pick me up. And then, I mean, it'll be fine. He's like, what if she falls asleep? I'm like, a good point. And he says, well, if she does, the teachers are still there by the campfire. I can hear them. And I'm like, I agree with you. I can hear them too. We'll be fine. You can just go back up with them. If everything goes to shit, it's fine. You can go up with them. Just listen for when they leave. Like listen for when they're kind of moving towards the camper area because that would be them moving towards the vehicles. Because then you can go out and go up with them. I'm like, great, cool. So we keep talking. None of us heard them leave. But we could swear like midnight passed. And we could swear we heard them. And then I think like a 15 minutes or something, like midnight 15, 12:15. I was like, I'll just check. Like something in my gut said, I'll just check that they're still there. So I get up and go to check that they're there. There's no one there and the fire is burning low. And like things are cleaned up. All of the golf carts are gone. And I'm like, I don't think they just left. I think they left an age ago. So to be fair, now the story's going to get a little bit creepy-esque because it's pitch black. I'm in buttfuck nowhere, remember? So it's really dark outside where I am. And it's lonely. People are asleep. And we heard the teachers' voices. But the teachers clearly have not been there for quite some time. Like, I think I heard them, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I need to check if they're leaving. I open the camper van, and there's no one. I don't know who I heard. And I wasn't the only one who heard. The teacher inside the camper van who was with us, his tent was in the field, he heard. I came in, and he was like, they're there, right? And I'm like, no. He's like, well, who did we hear? I'm like, I don't know, but the campfire is empty, my guy. There's nobody there. He's like, so how are you going to be okay? I'm like, I'll call Mina. So I call up Mina. Nothing. I text Mina. Nothing. I call Mina again. Nothing. I'm like, okay. I'll give her a moment. Maybe she went to the bathroom or something. She left her phone in the camper van. I don't know what. This is... And when you're faced with a problem that you can't immediately solve, one of the things you might want to do is just sit and mull. Like, you're like, I can't immediately act on this. I'm just going to, like, process. So I did that. I sat down. I'm like, I'm just going to process because I don't know how this is going to go. And he was like, well, what do you want to do? And the other volunteers too were like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I'm is there space for me to sleep here in case something happens? They're like, we don't mind if you sleep here, but no. Like, and we looked around, we're like, this guy's over there. There's literally no physical surface area to place my body upon. So no, I can't stay in the camper van. So we're pondering what to do, and I'm like, okay, can I just like stay here and kind of like periodically keep calling Mina until she picks up? And they're like, yeah, you can do that. So I'm like, okay, call Mina, nothing. Talk a bit more. Call Mina, nothing. Talk a bit more. Call Mina, nothing. Talk a bit more. And then at that point, it was like, I want to say like 12:40, 12:45 coming up on, before I was like desperately going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. We even debated whether or not to call Sarah. And I was like, Sarah's not going to wake up. Sarah sleeps deep. Sarah's not waking up to come get me. And to be fair, like, she's not going to be happy because she did give me fair warning. So I'm not going to bother her about this. And we're debating it, and I'm debating it. I'm like, I don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. Oh, goodness. I go back outside. I look at the campfire. I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. I go back inside the camper. Like, I don't know what to do. And then I realized what the time was. And I realized I had to be up at 6 a.m. so that I could be ready to help make breakfast. And these guys were like, we got to go to sleep too, because like breakfast. So they're ready to tuck in. And they're like, what's going to happen? And I'm like, well, and dear audience, at 10 minutes to 1 a.m., I made a decision. And that decision was, I'm going to stroll on down to the house. So I told them, hey, guys, listen, there's like 50 people in this field. All right, I'll be fine. I'm going to walk to the house. And collectively, they were all like, what? No. I mean, what? I'm walking to the house because, like, what else am I going to do? I said, there's no golf carts. There's nothing. I can't even drive back one of the golf carts because there's nothing. Sarah's not going to wake up. Mina's not responding. The teachers are gone. None of y'all have a car. All of us came together in one car that's up there by the hill. And I got to go to sleep. We all got to go to sleep. And I think someone offered, like, do you want one of us to walk with you? And I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, it's just a field. There's nothing in the field. Now, I said this with all the confidence of a small 18-year-old woman, child, really, teenager. You ain't really much of an adult when you're 18. And then I said this all confidently and strolled on out of the camper. The moment I was out of the camper, the moment feet were upon dirt outside, I was crushingly lonely and terrified because then really the gravity of what I was electing to do sat with me. So I decided first I was going to go sit by the campfire and be like, let me just like mull this over. This is where it gets creepy. I went over, I want to say I was like 3 meters away from the campfire. I was walking kind of slowly before. And I want to preface all of this by saying I am incredibly superstitious. Incredibly superstitious in many ways. I believe in spookies. I don't fuck with ghouls and goblins. So I approach this campfire that's almost burning down. And I should mention that the chairs for the campfire there were like 40 chairs or so arranged in a perfect circle around this campfire. Very like council, coven-esque looking thing. And I'm like 3 meters or so away from the line of chairs before I go, no. Because in that moment, it felt, I was very cognizant of the fact that I was on old, very much likely indigenous land. And I didn't know what creatures, entities, spookies, spirits wandered this land, and like what used to be here 1,000 years ago relative to that set of knowledge. So I didn't want to fuck with it. And when I approached these chairs, the first sensation I got was those chairs aren't empty. Like, visually, they're empty. But those chairs aren't empty. It felt like at that moment, every one of those chairs was full with somebody from a different era gone by. Like, I felt like I was walking in on a council meeting. And the worst part was I felt incredibly unwelcome to said council meeting. Like, I was approaching going, no. And context, there is no moon. The moon had not yet risen. It was a pitch black night with naught but the campfire glow. I'm like, I'll just start walking. So I turn on a dime and start going back towards the path that goes through the trees, past the hills, and up to the house. This is a 10-minute walk. This is not an easy walk. This is a 10-minute walk on flat-ish land. But it's a 10-minute walk. And so I'm like, okay, better get going. While in the field, I could see. While in the field, there was light because the campfire was casting a glow. While in the field, I felt safe-ish because there were all these tents and people and whatever, but they didn't really feel real. So there was still an aura of unease all over me. And then I strolled through the tree line, and everything changed once I strolled through the line of trees. Because the trees blocked the campfire's light, and immediately within like a meter or two of crossing that threshold, it was pitch black. It was dark. Like, I couldn't see ahead of me. I could see the separation of the sky and like the peaks of the trees, but if I looked straight ahead, there was nothing there. It was just black. Attention all passengers. We interrupt this story to bring you a special segment. As we all know, literacy is absolutely atrocious these days for reasons outside of our control. And I thought I would help with that and bring you a word of the week. And they're not going to be easy words, but that's the point. So this week's word is ostentatious. Ostentatious. And it is spelled ostentatious. Ostentatious. And Merriam-Webster defines it as overly elaborate or conspicuous, otherwise known as attracting or seeking to attract attention, admiration, or envy by display of gaudiness or obviousness. And ostentatious in a sentence would be like saying, Donald Trump claimed that he rigged the 2024 presidential election in an ostentatious display of power. Ostentatious. And now, back to the show. I couldn't even see like a pathway in between the trees because at some point, very quickly along the path, the mown grass path would turn, and so the trees kind of formed a wall and everything turned with that path, and so there's no clear-cut pathway to get through. So immediately I'm like, I can't see. This is overbearingly terrifying. Like, you feel this crushing sense come over you in a situation like this. So in this crushing dark, I take out my phone because I need to see to go back to the house. And I look at my phone battery, and I think it was something like 30%, which not good for an iPhone. What was it? iPhone 7? In that era, like the flashlight uses a surprising amount of battery. So I pull it out, I turn on the flashlight, and I look ahead, and it's all just mown grass pathway as far down to the edge of the trees. And I can't, this is not a good flashlight, so it doesn't extend very far. And I'm like, well, I guess I start walking. And there was this brief moment where I was like, oh my God, I need to turn back. Like, what if, and then as soon as I hit past the line of the trees, right, and I'm in this crushing darkness, I have that thought where I'm like, oh God, maybe I should turn. And the first thing that my brain's, I hate that the human brain is like this, where it unnecessarily scares you in places and situations where fear is really not useful at that point. But it's the limbic system, the monkey brain, the instinct kicking in, the survival instinct, telling you, yeah, if I don't terrorize the hell out of you right now, you're gonna die. And in that moment, my monkey brain said, don't turn around. Which was literally the worst thing my brain could have said to me at that point. I would have much rather that my brain be like, oh, what is that? Like, but don't turn around is single-handedly in that moment one of the most terrifying things you can hear from your own mind. Because the implication is that you'll see something if you turn around. And I almost wanted to turn around. And the first thought I had was, I'm going to see people sitting in the chairs where there were not people before. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see the council for real. I believe in ghost and goblin. I don't want to see a ghost or goblin. So I'm like, okay, great. Horror game logic. I spent a lot of my life watching and playing horror games. Don't turn around. So then I'm pressed. I have to go. So I start walking. I'm just like, all right, keep pace. Let's go. Brisk pace. And it's warm. So, I would have been in a worse situation if I was chilly or something, but no, I just kept walking. I'm good. Warm weather. Let's go. Looking up at the sky a couple of times. Like, cool. And I realized really quickly that if I don't keep my flashlight exactly down at the path, like, just like a meter in front of me, I won't know where I'm going. And so in this era, as you are listening to this right now, liminal spaces, which is like a space that feels not real and kind of real and an in-between dimensions type of space, is like a kind of popular trope thing, experience, what have you. Like it's been popularized recently. Well, that night, the moment I started walking and I looked at the path and I was around these tents, but they felt like they weren't, like I wasn't attached to them in any way. Like they didn't concern me. They just existed in the field. And there's no one around. It very much felt like a liminal space, which made everything tremendously worse because I don't want to walk in a dimension between worlds. I don't want to be stuck there. But it did actually feel like that. It felt like if I turned my flashlight off of the path and onto the tall grass to the sides, that I would not, and I turned my flashlight back to the path, there wouldn't be a path. It felt like that. It felt like this shape-shifting kind of dimension. So a liminal space. And I'm walking. And it's dark. And it's a little bit like, there's a little chill, but it's not bad. And you can kind of hear the wind. Like the wind was rustling the trees. And some people would go, oh, that must be so calming. But it wasn't, because it was pitch black. And the only thing that was visible to me as I'm taking each step is this flashlight lit greenish mown grass patch in front of me. I can't even see to the sides. And if I look to the sides, I can see just the silhouettes of tall grass that is, I'm 5'3". It's grass that's basically up to my shoulders, was how tall the grass was off to the sides of the path. So I'm walking. And then I see the hill where Sarah's supposed to be in the distance. It was maybe like a 2-minute walk to the hill. So it was visible. I could see it. And I'm coming up on this hill going, okay, all right, I'm making progress. I'll be fine. Everything's okay. And as I'm coming up to the hill, I have two thoughts. The first one is, don't turn around. Again, I have the same thought, don't turn around. It really did feel like something might be behind me. And I felt like, two ways I felt. I felt like I wanted to turn around and challenge it by looking at it. And then I felt like I didn't want to turn around and challenge it by looking at it, because Lord only knows whatever the hell it was. I didn't want it to look at me, react to me, and then run at me. And I had all sorts of menacing supernatural shit in my head, telling like, that's behind you, worry about it. And then the other thought that I had as I was coming up in Sarah's hill was, I wonder if I'd like, could I climb up and like just, I don't even know what I'd do, like climb up and wake her up and then be like, oh, they left me, and then like be like, can I stay here? And then like she'd hate me. And I was like, oh shoot, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I should do that. Okay, so how about I just like, I'm mulling it and I'm walking and I see her car parked on the side of the hill too, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. Walking, and I'm in the back of my head, I'm debating like, go up the hill, go up the hill, go up the hill. And spoiler, dear audience, did not go up the hill. But as I was coming through the that passageway between the two hillish pieces, like I don't recall if I mentioned this earlier. I don't think I did. Where Sarah's hill was, on the opposite side was an equivalently tall hill, and there was nothing up there. There was no one up there. But at the very top of that hill, you could see like some tall grass and a bunch of trees to the sides, either side of the hill. And I really wanted to look up. And so I did. I looked up at the hill. I didn't shine my flashlight though. And part of me, when I looked up at the hill, I was like, I had a different thought at that point as I was coming up to the hills. I had kind of made peace with the ghost behind me that I couldn't see and wasn't supposed to turn around and look at. I also had kind of a solution for the ghost behind me, which was just keep walking. If you keep walking, if you stop, it will catch you. That was how my brain told me. And I imagined this like shrieking kind of woman with like grudge looking hair. Like all the different horror games I've ever played, like Penumbra, Amnesia Monsters popped into my head, like Ju-on the Grudge, like all the different old but really creepy horror games, all of them popped into my head at once, and that was the monster that was behind me. Like my brain conjured up a combination type of monster behind me, but my making peace with that was just not to stop walking. So of course I did not stop walking, but then the next thing that came into mind once I had quelled that fear was, what if I see an animal? And somehow, in the whole prospect of like the supernatural, whatever, which I'd give stock to the spookies, I was like, oh my god, I would hate to see an animal. I really don't want to see an animal right now. The last thing I want to see is another living creature. So I'm walking, I'm thinking about Sarah and whatever. I was like, I'd love to see Sarah. Like, I'd love to go up the hill and wake up Sarah and whatever, but I'm not going to. And her hill was pretty steep. Like, it was a highish, medium high hill. It would have taken me a bit, and I didn't want to climb up it and punish myself by going up the hill. And I had another thought. What if I go up the hill and she's not there? I don't know why she wouldn't be there, but again, liminal space. What if I go up the hill and she's not there? So I keep trekking going, oh my god, I don't want to see an animal. I don't want to see another living thing. Literally any living thing right now would be the scariest thing I could ever perceive. And so I looked up at the other side hill, half expecting to see like a coyote or something, and I really didn't want to. I was looking to kind of like be like, I need to be aware if I'm being stalked by a coyote. So I like glanced and I didn't see the silhouette of one. And the next thought I had was shine your flashlight into the grass to see if it's closer. And then the next thought I had was absolutely not. I don't want to alert anything that's in the tall grass that I know it's in the tall grass, whether it be a coyote or whether it be something else. Like in that moment, I realized I didn't want to see a coyote. I didn't want to see a human being that wasn't supposed to be there. I didn't want to see literally anything. I didn't want to see anything. And if I shone my light into the tall grass and I saw the silhouette of a coyote or another animal, I don't know, a badger, a beaver, there were beavers around in various regions where I was back then in the Ottawa Valley days. So, I mean, I didn't want to see those. I didn't even want to see a squirrel, a bird. I would have screamed if I saw a living creature, even if it was the smallest of birds, because it felt so wrong. It felt like in this, again, liminal space, it didn't belong. And so it wouldn't have been real. And so it's this moving thing that's not real. And I would have freaked out. And I was in a weird headspace. So I didn't shine my light. I just kept walking. And I had two thoughts at this point. One, I can't stop, because if I stop now, the ghost will get me. Two, I can't turn back. Like, once I pass the hills, because I can't look behind me, I can't turn back to get to Sarah. And then number three, if I don't make it to the house before my flashlight runs out, I don't make it to the house, because I can't see anything beyond the scope of the flashlight. That's it. If I don't get to the house before my flashlight runs out, I have to walk in the dark, and I can't see. And one of the biggest fears of mine in the I can't see perception wasn't even like wandering, like not being able to see if something's coming to get me. At that point, I was just scared of wandering into the tall grass, mainly because I didn't want to pick up ticks. I didn't want Lyme disease, so I was scared of accidentally veering off into the tall grass and ending up with ticks. And then the other problem is, if I veered off into the tall grass and freaked out, what if there was something else in the tall grass with me? And then how do I get back to the path? And I had every fear possible in my head, so I kept walking. Once I passed the hills, I had like a 7-minute walk ahead of me. And I tried my best to stay calm. I tried breathing and like look at the stars in the sky, kind of like, ooh, breathe, whatever. Well, there weren't that many stars in the sky because clouds had started to come over, and so I really couldn't see anything. And there's very little light pollution. The nearest town was Kingston, and it cast very little light pollution into the sky. So it truly was dark above my head. And I'm walking. And as I passed the hill and moved on, I had a thought, because like about a minute down the road, I had another thought aside from those thoughts, which was earlier that day, Sarah and I had come down the path from the house in her car for breakfast, and we had seen poop in the trees to the side of the path. And it was a big poop, let me tell you. Like a big poop. Didn't come from a person. Definitely didn't come from a coyote. Way too big to come from a coyote. The only thing that it could have come from was something like the size of a cow or a moose, or like bigger cervid or bovine type animals, like a big animal. And we knew that there weren't any moose on the land. So horse. So when we saw it earlier in the day, we both remarked, like, that looks like horse poop. So we were like, oh, so they think that the horse isn't on the land. The horse is probably on the land. Now, at basically 1 a.m. in the morning, close to 1 a.m., I'm walking along, hoping I don't see an animal, and then I thought of the horse. And I thought, oh my God, no. I would pass out cold if I saw the horse in the field. One, I'm superstitious, and there are a lot of ghost horse, phantom horse, undead horse superstitions and folklore stories out there, headless horseman type things. Like, I did not want to see that horse because I knew I was going to immediately think it's not a real horse. And also that I was going to know it was the real horse. And like, it was such a I've never been more afraid of a horse in my life. It was the scariest thing to me in that moment, because if I saw a horse in front of me in the tree, like I'm walking with my flashlight and I flick my flashlight up and boom, horse, I would have turned around and taken the ghost. I would have done a complete 180, gone back the other way, back to the hill. I would take the ghost. I can fight a ghost. I can't fight a horse. So here I am walking, hoping now I don't see a horse. I couldn't even care less about the ghost behind me. I don't want to see a horse. So I'm walking along going, please let me not see the horse. Please let me not see the horse. And about like 5 to 6 minutes total into my entire walk. So I've got like 4 or 5 minutes back to the house now. I'm expecting the path to curve, because there is a curve in this path. In the daylight, when we drove down, I knew that there was a curve where, from my perspective, as I'm walking, I knew that the path was going to curve a bit left to go towards the house. And in the night, afraid, you don't really think fully straight. I certainly wasn't. So I didn't know exactly how far between me and the house would the curve be. Or the fact that, in hindsight, I should have been able to see the house's lights when the curve was coming up. Like, I would have been able to see the house in the distance. I didn't think of that. So I was just expecting the path that I was on to curve. So as I'm walking along, I'm going through the trees, and I get to this really tree-ish area. There's a lot of trees, and I thought I knew where I was. I thought I was in the really treed-in area right before the house. I was not, but the path curved nonetheless. And I'm looking, for perspective as I'm walking, I'm not looking ahead, because if I lifted the flashlight up, I could see the path further ahead, but not in front of my feet. And because the path wasn't 1000% straight, it was actually more important for me to know exactly where my feet were rather than see the path ahead. Also, because I just didn't want to shine my flashlight up and see the horse. I was so avoiding shining my flashlight into the trees and seeing a living creature. Or a non-living, but creature. And so I didn't know what was ahead of me. I just kind of saw tall grass and the path kind of curve. And then I saw to the left side of me, the grass, at the side, the tall grass kind of curve to my left. And so I went, oh, that's the curve, right? That's the curve. I don't see any other pathway, so that's the curve. And I just start walking to the left with this curve. So I'm walking. I'm okay, fine. Yep. So I'm thinking to myself, confidently, I'm going to see the house soon. And I thought I saw the roof of it. I actually thought I saw the roof of the house. I definitely saw the roof of something, but it wasn't the house. So I'm walking. I'm going. I see the roof and I'm like, head to that structure. Go for it. And I'm walking. And I think I get maybe 4 meters onto this path. So at least a little bit, like a few seconds onto this path, 20 seconds down this path, before it occurs to me really, really quickly. This path is too narrow for a car to fit down. This path has tall grass, basically just a little over arm's length away from me on either side. That's barely enough to fit a car, and none of the paths that we've driven down are that narrow. So where am I? And I've never had my blood run colder than that moment in my life, because I went off the path and I didn't remember there being any other path off of the main one except the one to the house. I look up to the structure I seem to be hell-bent on heading towards, and it's house-like, but there's no lights. And I kind of shine my flashlight very tentatively up, like I'm petrified now. And my flashlight illuminates a brown, peeling structure that is house or barn-like. Kind of house-ish, though. And like from head to toe, this structure is peeling. Like it's when you have a really old wood and you paint it and the paint has been peeling for 80 years. 80 years, that's how old this thing looked. And I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck is that? And I'm thinking, I don't remember there being this structure. I don't remember there being this path. So why is this path here? Where did it come from? And again, dear audience, I am very superstitious. I believe in ghosts and goblins. So I was thinking, oh my dear God, this thing wasn't here before, so why is it here now? Whose house is this? Was the next question in my head. whose house is this? And how long ago did they live here? How long ago was this house here? And why is it here tonight? Why is this path here tonight? Where's the actual path? And for the first and only and last time on that night, I turned around and walked back so fast down that path. Like I booked it, short of running down that path. And I was scared because like if I got hurt, if I tripped, if something got me, no one would be able to help me. Like this is the middle of the night. No one's around to help me. No one's around to even know I'm there. So I'm like skedaddling back onto the main path. As soon as I hit where I used to be, I look to my left, like to continue where the path should have continued, and lo and behold, there's the path. Clear as day, wide as ever. And I'm thinking to myself, so what curve did I see? Why did the path curve? Where's the curve? Because now that I'm coming back out and looking at the path, there is no curve. It's just a straight path. Why did the path curve suddenly with tall grass? And I was genuinely like superstitiously afraid, and that I'm like, this is eerie, this is horror, because the grass was in front of me and I had to turn. Now the grass is nowhere to be seen. So I came back out of this path and like immediately turned back onto the main path, and I'm heading down. I'm like, okay, I'm back in the path. I'm back in the path. I'm back in the path. Let's go. And I'm heading down. And everything is fine and everything's great. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, the worst thought ever. In the morning, when Sarah comes to get me and drives me down at 6 a.m. to do breakfast, I need to check that structure is there. Because if it's not, I won't be able to sleep at night. And I don't know why I said that. I want to sleep at night. So I keep walking and I'm waiting for the path and the light and the house. And then actually the path does curve. And suddenly there is light. So much light. Because this house was lit with bright white halogen type bulbs. Like it was enormously well lit. And I'm like, that's it. There's the house. And I wanted to run. And I remember thinking, if I sprint in this last bit, the ghost behind me, he gonna try and sprint after me. He gonna get me. Just stay calm. Don't alert him. Her. It. Whatever it is. Just keep walking. So I walked. I walked all the way down around the path and came around the side where the camper is and everything. And like I desperately needed to go to the bathroom at that point, because I think the adrenaline finally was like wearing off and now my body was being able to reset. And so I went to the house because I was where the bathroom is, at the side door, went to the house, used the bathroom, came back out, and I was still afraid to come back out of the house. Even though I knew that Mina was in the camper, I'm like, I'm afraid. I want to stay in the house, but I can't stay in the house. So I came out, went over to the camper, opened the door. Mina's in there and the light's on and she's awake. And I'm like, hi. She's like, oh, you came back. Wait, what time is it? She looks at the time. I think it was like easily 1:10 or something. And she's like, oh, did the teachers bring you? Were you with the teachers in the shed over there? I was like, no, I walked. I just walked from the field to here. You walked? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I thought you came back with the teachers. I'm like, the teachers abandoned me. But also, like, she was surprised too, because she was like, why didn't you call me? I was like, I did. I called you. And she looks at her phone and she sees the missed calls. Turns out her phone happened to be on silent, which I don't blame her. Pretty much everyone's phone was on silent. And she was reading a book. So her phone didn't ring. Like, she showed me her phone just didn't. And it only took one of the calls before I think the service gave out. And then the other, like 3, 4, 5 calls didn't come through. And so I got betrayed by my campo buddy. I'm like, no, I walked. And she's like, oh my God, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm doing great. I'm fine. I passed it off as being A-okay. And then because I think the adrenaline was talking too. And then I changed. I got into bed and whatever. And I talked about how the night went and everything else. And oh yeah, I had fun, blah, blah, blah. And that was that. I made it in. The ghost was gone. I left him outside. All was well. Didn't see the horse. Went to sleep. The next morning, Sarah comes up to the house to pick me up at like 6 a.m. And she's like, did you get home okay? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, did you go up with the teachers or something? Did Mina drive you? And Mina's like, no. Like, Mina was ready to own her mistake. She was like, no, I didn't. I had my phone on silent and I didn't catch her call. And so I didn't know that she needed I knew she needed picking up, but I thought because she didn't call me and I heard the teachers come up, I thought she came up with the teachers. And then she comes into the camper at like 1 saying that she walked. And Sarah was like, why did you walk? And I'm like, because the teachers left before I could realize that the teachers left. I thought they were still there. And then she was like, did the guys walk you up? And I was like, I walked by myself. And she's like, she was livid. When we went down to the field and she talked to the volunteer guys, she was like, but all of you could have walked her up. How, like, and they were like, well, we offered like for one of us to walk her up. And she's like, no, all of you could have gotten out and like walked out. And she was just mad with them for at least like a day. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I offered to walk myself. I'm fine. It's okay. And she's like, no, but what if something had happened? And I'm like, what was going to happen? The horse? and so we got breakfast and everything. And at breakfast, I was talking to some of the I was talking to some of the attendees, and they told me somewhere in the night, around 1 a.m., they started hearing the sound of hooves in the field walking around the tents. They also heard some braying and whinnying and neighing, and that's the sounds that horses make quietly. And in that moment, I remember thinking, oh, that's why I shouldn't have turned around. Huh? I really would have seen the horse, huh? So I was vindicated. I was vindicated in not turning around, and I was vindicated in believing that the horse had been in the field. And they found the horse eventually, and all was well. The horse wasn't hurt or anything like that. But I remember telling them, like, hey, so I was out in the field with the horse, huh? And they were like, did you see the horse? I'm like, no. You would have heard a blood-curdling scream if I had seen that horse. So like... The rest of the week went on, and again, like I said, it'll be a story for another time, the actual week. But moral of the story is sometimes you don't get an option in life. Sometimes life presents you with something that's just undeniably awful, and you don't really get a choice in saying no. Sometimes you just have to be in that situation, and the only answer to it is to just walk forward, not stop, don't look around, don't think, don't just go. Sometimes you're handed situations where you don't have an option to do anything else but what is presented to you. This was one of those situations where there really wasn't, I mean, in hindsight, the guys could have walked with me, but there really wasn't a good solution to getting me home to that camper. So and I think that situation, that story, that case really shaped me as a person. It made me a lot less afraid of lots of things for the next couple of years after that. It definitely made me a more resilient person inside. It's harder now to scare me than it was then. I think then I would have been more easily afraid of things. And maybe that was just a needed scenario. So, I mean, again, good lesson learned. This is the part of the story where I say, do as I say, not as I did. Please don't go wandering around a dark field with a rogue horse loose. That's the worst idea. Please don't do that. I'm still not good at signing out the podcast, but if you liked what you heard, consider sharing it with somebody you love, somebody you think would like this. I'd much appreciate it. If you want to follow the podcast online, updates and the like, clips and funnies. On Instagram and TikTok at Retrospect Station. If you want to find me on Instagram, on TikTok, at AstroAlex34. If you would like to, what's the other one I have to say? Oh, yes. If you'd like to materialistically support the podcast, you are more than welcome to donate at coffee.com/retrospect station. That would be ko-fi.com/retrospect station. And really, I think that's it. I guess I'm going to catch you next Wednesday. A special thanks to the Mississauga Library Makerspace of Hazel McCallion Library. Without their resources, this show would not be possible.